I was surfing around here on YouTube, looking at some videos, when it occurred to me that there seemed to be a spike in the number of videos pertaining to homosexuality in one way or another. Several made arguments that I found intriguing, so I thought I'd do a video addressing them. First, there were a number of videos whose makers advanced various forms of the homosexuality is immoral argument. As discussed in my Homosexuality and Christianity video, I believe the homosexuality is immoral argument withers under scrutiny. Even the mildest scrutiny, quite frankly. And I say this not just as an atheist. I held precisely the same belief when I was a theist. As I noted in that video, it's ridiculous to suggest that Leviticus should be regarded as a sound source of moral guidance, a text that condemns as abomination both the consumption of shellfish and sex between persons of the same gender, acts that harm no one, while at the same time it countenances the obviously immoral institution of slavery, human beings owning other human beings as property and stealing their labor. It seems to me akin to seeking advice from Bernard Law, the former Cardinal Archbishop of Boston, on the appropriate handling of those who sexually abuse children. As for the story of Sodom and Gomorrah in Genesis 19, it's never been clear to me what a story about the threatened gang rape of two angels, or perhaps even divine beings, depending on how one understands the story, disguised as human males, has to do with homosexuality. It seems to me to be as relevant to homosexuality as the story of David's adulterous relationship with Bathsheba is relevant to heterosexuality. That is, not relevant at all. It's a bit like claiming parental love should be understood in terms of incest. As for the various Pauline condemnations of homosexuality, particularly his claim in Romans 1 that homosexuality is unnatural, it's obvious that Paul had some peculiar notions about what nature did and did not dictate, most of which the bulk of Christians dismiss as culturally bound pronouncements that are morally insignificant. It seems to me far easier just to say what is plainly true. Paul was wrong. Not even once have I heard someone make a persuasive argument in support of the claim that homosexuality is unnatural. In sum, Psalm 15 says that people who lend money at interest will not be permitted to dwell on God's, quote, holy hill. Let those who claim that biblical condemnations of homosexuality are morally significant take Psalm 15 literally on the money-lending point. Perhaps they might gather in protest outside the offices of American Express, MasterCard, and Visa. They could preach sermons about how every mortgage broker is bound for divine wrath. Until then, it's clear they're just being selective when it comes to which biblical condemnations they take seriously and which ones they dismiss. Second, I watched a video by a gay male in his early 20s who believes that the gay pride movement, particularly gay pride parades, are offensive, hypocritical, and stupid. He also believes they hurt him as a gay man. He calls himself Dimka. I've put a link to his video to the right of the screen here. He argues that not being ashamed of one's sexual orientation is not the same thing as being proud of it. And he sees gay pride parades, in principle, as no different from white pride parades. Moreover, Dimka opines, one should be proud of one's accomplishments, not some characteristic one discovered about oneself and did nothing to acquire. On that last bit, Dimka has something of a point. However, it also betrays a misunderstanding, or perhaps ignorance, of the roots of the gay pride movement, and by extension other pride movements started by minority groups. The contemporary gay pride movement is less than 40 years old. It originated with people who decided that they were no longer going to put up with societal bigotry and discrimination against people who happened to be homosexual. It's not at all unusual for reactions to and rejections of oppression to become sources of celebration and pride. For example, every 4th of July, Americans enthusiastically celebrate colonial America's rejection of the oppressive rule of Great Britain and its declaration of independence. The celebrations are usually quite boisterous and quite flamboyant. Such celebrations don't hurt you as an American, do they, Dimka? Of course, the 4th of July celebrants talk a lot about how proud they are to be Americans. The overwhelming majority of them did nothing to obtain this national identity other than be born here. However, I doubt anyone, even you, would criticize either the flamboyance of these celebrations or the pride of the revelers. Am I wrong? Yes, gay pride parades are boisterous and often flamboyant occasions. However, when the time for your local gay pride parade rolls around again, Dimka, I'm going to encourage you to do something. Keep an eye out for the less florid, less colorful people and things one sees in such parades. People and things that are far more important. For example, the contingents from various civil rights groups whose tireless efforts have helped to create a society in which you, Dimka, and I, and other gay people may avoid the tyranny of the closet, to be honest about who we are, and not face discrimination and violence merely because we happen to be gay. Keep an eye out for the gay senior citizens groups, made up of people who have personal experience of significant oppression, and who remember it all too well. It seems they have every reason to celebrate. Keep an eye out for the contingents of religious organizations that have repudiated the condemnations of homosexuality in their spiritual and ecclesiastical traditions, and who welcome homosexual people in their company with open arms and loving hearts. Perhaps when you notice these things and these people, Dimka, the flamboyance that vexes you so will seem far less important. In fact, you might even be able to be entertained by it, which is really what such displays are usually about, after all. Just two things in closing to Dimka. First, I think it's great that you had the confidence to say what you thought about this. And I'm not trying to be hard on you. I'm just trying to encourage you to think about this a little bit more and a little differently. Second, I'm not much for parades myself. Not since I slipped on someone's vomit on the sidewalk at the St. Patrick's Day parade a few years ago. But I'm still proud to be half Irish. Well, there was one other video that I was going to respond to, but I'm too tired. So let's just watch these guys dance for a couple of seconds, and thanks.